Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Srimad Bhagavatam, the shloka, come on the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Just now coming. Skanda 1, Adhyaya 9, Shloka Sankhya 27. Ekno Satais. Dhana Dharman Raja Dharman Moksha Dharman Vibhagashaha Sri Dharman Bhagavad Dharman Samasabhyasa Yogataha Dana Dharman Raja Dharman Moksha Dharman Vibhagashaha Sri Dharman Bhagavad Dharman Samasabhyasa Yogataha Padapataha. No, you never heard that before? Reading the words Padapataha Dana Dharman, the acts of charity. Raja Dharman, pragmatic activities of the kings. Moksha Dharman, the acts for salvation. Vibhagashaha, by divisions. Stri Dharman, duties of women. Bhagavat Dharman, the acts of devotees. Samasa, generally. Vyasa, explicitly. Yogataha, by means of. So Vyasadev, we say Vyasa explicitly. Interesting. What's the Hindi for that? Spashta Rup se. Explicitly, Vyasa. Purport. Excuse me, translation before the purport. He then explained, who is he? Who knows? Who is he? Bhishma. Bhishma Dev, Bhishma Pitamaha. We're in Western India, Bhishma Pitamaha. Eastern India, Bhishma Dev. Right? Bhishma Dev then explained, Bhishma Pitamaha then explained, by divisions, acts of charity, the pragmatic activities of a king, and activities for salvation. Then he described the duties of women and devotees, both briefly and extensively. purport. It's a very long purport. Should I read the whole purport? Yes? It's on the board, huh? Okay. Read a portion. You know, I'd like to read. The light here is terrible. My eyes are getting bad also. I'll try my best. It's a little more light like this. To give charity is one of the householder's main functions. And he should be prepared to give charity at least 50% of his hard-earned money. Hare Krishna. 50%. Possible? Sambhav hai? I don't think so. I think this, boy, should I comment? The householders used to be agrarian civilization, not urban. That's a good excuse, right? Because we're all urbanites now. No, some of us, some people here may be from smaller towns and villages. When one lives in a kutia, in a village, giving away 50% is not difficult. But if he lives in a big apartment building that costs crores of rupees, and then there you have to go on paying rest of your life, isn't it? Ek cheap, everything you have to buy on credit, especially in the United States. Everybody buy on credit. Everything. Everyone is in debt. No, there are 1%. They have a lot of money. And they don't give, their charity is show. They make a show. Also that, let's see, at least 50% of his hard-earned money. This is what Prabhupada says, give 50%. A brahmachari or student should perform sacrifices, a householder should give charity, and a person in the retired life or in the renounced order should practice penances and austerities. In the Mayapur Gurukul, they perform sacrifices, right? You've seen that? How many of you have been to Mayapur Gurukula? Right? So they perform sacrifices. Krishna and Sudama. What's that place? Where were they? Oh, this place. This place. Avantipur. Avantipur, they were living on the edge of the town. Of course, they didn't have a metro, right? They didn't have thousands of cars on the road, scooters. This morning we're taking a walk, there's no peace. The vehicles are moving. We're also moving in the vehicles. Wow. Sign of village life. And the peacocks also here. The cows and the peacocks. People who live in cities, they usually don't hear these sounds, natural sounds. It's unfortunate. That's more like what they hear in the city life. Banging of metal. Those are the general functions of all the ashramas or orders of life on the path of self-realization. So varnashram dharma, ashrama means advancement. But when we say advancement, what does that mean actually? Advancement means becoming sattvic. Confirmed. One has to purify his existence, so the purification means giving up the rajasic and the tamasic. Confirmed again. But it's true. According to Gita, urdhvam gachanti sattvasta. Those who are sattvic go up. So moksha dharma means to get out of this bhava bandhan, to get out of punarapi jananam, punarapi maranam. We cannot say for sure, we cannot 100%, how can we say? Someone will say, what am I saying? But because we have faith in Shastras, we have faith in these teachings. Moksha dharma, where is it taught? Where did Bhishma teach this? I'm repeating myself. Oh no, you haven't heard my lecture before. Vamsidhari Prabhu heard it before, so he knows. Anyone can answer? Except for Vamsidhari Prabhu. He should not answer. You heard my lecture before. You heard my lecture on this? Not on this. So, Mataji, where is it? Hindi mein bol rahi hai.
The battlefield of Kurukshetra, Bhishma Pitama is on...
No, that's correct, but in Shastras. Where is this Upadesh Mahabharata? Where in the Mahabharata? Bhishma Parva, no. Shanti Parva, yes. Bhishma Parva is Kurukshetra war, and after the war there's Shanti. So Bhishma Dev, Bhishma Pitamaha is lying on Banshaya, bed of arrows. His body is pierced with arrows. We cannot imagine. We've never seen it. We've seen dead bodies. A few days ago in Baroda, one big businessman, he came to the temple. Big donor from Calcutta, Agarwal from Calcutta. We know him for years. Next day, 24 hours later, Tata Dehanta Prapti. Massive heart attack. He was jolly, he was healthy, was 66 years old. And then, I had to go to his house and I had to put this on his dead body, on his face. So Varnashram Dharma means gradually. Brahmachari, performing sacrifice. How do you perform sacrifice? Who can answer the question? What is the system of performing sacrifice? Yeah. Chanting of the holy name. Sorry, that's wrong. Oh, in Kali Yuga. But not the sacrifice in the Mayapur Gurukul. What do they chant? Hands. Vedic mantras. Have to admit. Pardon? No, that was the correct answer. What is he saying? I can't hear.
Control senses. Control senses.
To perform Vedic sacrifice. No. Veda mantras. Yeah, it's here, but I was saying how to perform sacrifices, you have to learn Veda mantras. That's what Gurukul is for. Sorry. But there's a Vedic educational syllabus. This I want to stress in my lectures. Because we're adopting, even my kids, Western educational syllabus. It's not Vedic. There's a Vedic Patyakram. What do you call that? Syllabus. Syllabus. In order to perform a sacrifice, Brahmanas, of course, chanted mantras. You know this, right? There are 4 types of Brahmanas, right? What is it? Udgata, Hotri,
Kandi.
Huh?
Karma Kandi.
Not Karmakandi. There. Advaryu, Hotri, Udgata, Brahma. So when there's a big sacrifice, of course, not a small. There used to be Agni Hotris in their house. These Yagna Kunds are here in front of us. And in a couple hours there will be a sacrifice. And at that time, Kirtan will go on the side, no doubt. But when you offer ahutis, some Veda mantras are chanted. And then we Vaishnavas do Krishnaya Swaha, Krishnaya Idam Namama. This is for Krishna, not for me. Or Vishnave Swaha. This is for Vishnu, not for me. Ramanuja Sampradaya Brahmins, they do that. Madhva Brahmins, not so much as Ramanuja. Big temples, even South India also, there's a place for Vedic sacrifice. It's mentioned in the purport. Some of you may be sitting here, what is he talking about? Right? Well, what is he talking about, learning Vedas and performing Vedic sacrifice? Here it says, Brahmachari, I didn't write the purport. Prabhupada wrote the purport. A brahmachari or student should perform sacrifices. So in order to perform sacrifice, you're supposed to learn Vedas. That's it. Simple. Are we doing it? If the answer is no, something is wrong. Women are not supposed to. Here, women, street dharma. Of course, there are God sisters who told me, I'm sick of this word, street dharma. I don't want to hear it. Can I change the Bhagavatam? Can I change the Bhagavatam? That's the question. Can I change what Prabhupada wrote in the purport? Prabhupada wrote in the purport, brahmachari or student should perform sacrifices. Can I change that? There's a gap between the reality and the ideal. I'm also guilty. I'm not innocent. What ideal life and what is taught here, there's some difference. There's some difference. We're supposed to follow what's taught here. Supposed to. 50%. There is one businessman, recently I came in touch, because he's in Madurai. How many people have been to Madurai? It's far away, South India. He's initiated in ISKCON. He's 32 shops, gold shops, huge, big shops, and 5 more under construction. He's running the temple he built with his own money, 8 crores. Krishna Balaram, you have Krishna Balaram? And Sandipani here. He made a Krishna Balaram temple. I don't know if he's giving 50%. I can't vouch for that. But he's giving a lot. He's also starting preaching centers in small towns. Every month, he distributes 30,000 Tamil Back to Godhead magazines. 30,000 one man in his shops. And he inspires the devotees. So, there are people like that. There are people like that. Dana Dharma. What is this Dana Dharma? Actually, tell you the truth, I didn't properly research in Shanti Parva. At this point, we should be reading that. What are the Dana Dharmas? We know something, but we know something else also. Dana Dharman is not to build an engineering college. This is new. This is not Vedic. Medical college. How many people have gone to Vrindavan? Mostly, right? It's not so far away. It's not Madurai. Delhi, Agra highway, how many colleges are there? Can you count? 50. Must be 50, right? Just one after the other, after the other, after the other. Hospitals. In India, were there big hospitals? No hospitals. Why? Are you uncivilized barbarians? That's what the English said. The Indians are barbarians. They have no hospitals. They have no universities. Actually, there was Takshashila and Nalanda, right? University in the ancient past. And hospital, there was Gramavaidya, Ayurveda. Every village, somebody had the jari booty, herbal remedies. So Dana Dharma has become perverted, Western concept. What is the Bill Gates Foundation, right? Biggest charity in the world. Billions and billions of dollars. Eradicate malaria. Could they stop it? No. Still there. Polio is eradicated. Great victory. But people still die. If it's not this disease, it's that disease. Janma Mrityu Jara Vyadhi is going on. Okay, a little more. In the brahmachari life, the training is sufficiently imparted so that one may understand that the world as property belongs to the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead. This is a translation of a Veda mantra. This Ishavasyam idam sarvam. You all know it. Everything is owned by the Lord. But we also have to deal practically as an institution. We have 135, whatever it is now, 92 full temples, extension centers, preaching centers, Nam Hattas. If you count all of that, well, there's 132 without the Nam Hat. Nam Hattas are too numerable to mention. Then there's land trouble. You have to register with the government. And that's why the ISKCON India Governing, actually its technical name is ISKCON India Governing Council. And the euphemism is bureau. That's used, bureau. Archaic English. In the modern English, it would be a committee board of directors, right? Bureau is an out of use for board of director. Out of use, archaic. Why has this ISKCON India Governing Bureau become important? Because somebody became a rebel against ISKCON. You know about that, right? Does that have anything to do with this? It does. Raja Dharma. Raja Dharma, government rules and regulations. There are no Kshatriyas. Maharaj, what he said last night, 100% correct. But one thing I think, I'm not criticizing, but when we talk about Kshatriya, they also studied the Vedas. Not that they only studied military, but it's a fact. They focused on fighting and strength, bodily conditioning. Duryodhana was always what? Gadayud. But who was his guru? Who's Duryodhana's guru? Who can tell me? Many of you know. Balaram. Adbhutam. It's amazing, huh? Balaram is Krishna. Right? Expansion of Krishna. That means Duryodhana must have been a great soul, a Mahatma. Isn't it? It's very difficult to understand. Isn't it? Very difficult to understand. But it's a fact. Kshatriyas definitely were inclined to fighting. That was most of their, because strength, balam, it's important. Dandaniti, right? What is it in Hindi? Jiske lati uske base. Whoever has the stick, he owns the buffalo. The meaning is that might makes right. Not exactly, that doesn't exactly encompass the Vedic concept. But what's that verse we quote? Bala Jnana Kriya, I can't remember, that's in the Upanishads. Yasyasti Bhaktir, no, not that one, that's in Bhagavad. Parashakti, Yasya Deve, Parabhakti Yatha Deve Tatha Kuro, no. Yasyaita Katita Yata Prakashanti, no. There's another one, what is it? Parasya Shaktir Vividhaiva Shriyate. Bala Kriya Jnanam, Bala Kriya, Bala's Kriya, Bala is there. Strength. Bhim, Ati Bhoji, Ati Manaviya, right? Mahabali. Hanuman is worshipped. Now they're worshipping Sai Baba, not Hanuman. I don't know. So Kshatriya definitely focuses on strength. Or Chhatrapati Shivaji. He was bold, but he was a short fellow, right? The story is that Khan, what was the name? Afzal Khan was a huge fellow. He invited Shivaji, come, let's make friends. But Shivaji knew he was a rascal. So Shivaji came close to embrace him, and he was so bold he could kill him right there. He also had a hidden knife, and Shivaji killed him. So strength, now that's a Kali Yuga fight. Before Kali Yuga was Jarasandha and Bhima, 28 days. In order to perform Rajasuya Yagna, and the description of Brahmanas who performed the Yagna was Brahmanas, but who arranged for all the gold. You had to have a Digvijaya Yatra, conquer all the directions. So the Pandavas went and conquered. That was the Kshatriya Dharma. That's an example from Bhagavat and from Mahabharata, both. But this part is also there that they memorized Vedas. Because evam parampara praptam imam rajarshayaha. How can you call a king a rishi? But that's a samasta padam, samas. Rajarshayaha, Raja Rishi. Why? Because he could fight. Rishis don't fight. Generally, Brahmanas, they don't fight, except for Dronacharya and Kripacharya. There may be other, Parashurama. Parashurama is the most famous. More famous than Kripacharya and Dronacharya as a fighter, as a Brahmana fighter. But Rajarshayaha, when you use the word Rishi, Rishi means one who is learned in Vedas and Vedic Shastras and Vedic philosophy. What is it? Shaddarshanas, Darshana Shastra. Rishi means an intelligent person, learned person. And even the Vaishyas used to study Vedas in the childhood. Then Krishi Goraksha Vanijam. protection of cows, agriculture is the first two Vaishya karmas, then trading. Yeah, it's without that light, it's terrible. Okay, no one therefore can claim to be the proprietor of anything in the world. This is a very, very idealistic statement because 99.9% of the people claim this is mine. And that's, you know, there's big criticism of India by the Westerners. Cows are running everywhere. How is that? I'll explain. You might have heard. Number one, this was an agrarian society, not a, urban society. And there were forests, Vrindavan, Dwadashavan, 12 forests. Cows used to live in these agrarian agricultural areas and graze in forests. And those forests didn't belong to anyone. When the cowherds, Krishna Leela, were attacked in Gokul, they came to Vrindavan with the cows on their bullock carts. It's described in Dashamaskanda, 10th canto. Then where agriculture must have been there also. Krishi is mentioned 5,000 years ago. Then whose field is it? Then in those days, every Ishavasyam idam sarvam, but Raja Dharman, there's a link here. You may say, what's he talking about now? This crazy guy. Talking about farming and how is it linked to the shloka? Because actually everything belonged to the Raja. Because Raja was considered the representative of Ishvara. That was the system. These names of Rajas in Bharata, the Puranas, Vangsha Vamshanu Charita, the description of Rajas, Rajarshis, they knew Shastras, they knew what was right and what was wrong. Who should be engaged in agriculture, Varnashram Vinishchayaha. That's in the 2nd canto. So Rajas were the ones, Digvijaya. They were the ruler of everything. They were considered the representatives of God. Even then they worshipped. Even then they worshipped also. Even they were considered, but they weren't arrogant. Rajas also were humble in their own way by performing sacrifices. Therefore, in the life of a householder, which is a sort of license for sex enjoyment, one must give in charity for the service of the Lord. Everyone's energy is generated or borrowed from the reservoir of energy of the Lord. Therefore, the resultant actions of such energy must be given to Him in the shape of transcendental loving service for Him. As the rivers draw water from the sea, through the clouds and again go down to the sea, similarly our energy is borrowed from the Supreme Source, the Lord's energy, and it must return to the Lord. That is the perfection of our energy. The Lord, therefore, in Bhagavad Gita 9:27 says that whatever we do, whatever we undergo as penance, whatever we sacrifice, whatever we eat, or whatever we give in charity must be offered to Him, the Lord. That is the way of utilizing our borrowed energy. When our energy is utilized in that way, our energy is purified from the contamination of material inebrities. And thus we become fit for our original natural life of service to the Lord. Raja Dharma is a great science, unlike modern diplomacy for political supremacy. The kings were trained systematically to become munificent and not merely be tax collectors. They were trained to perform different sacrifices only for the prosperity of the subjects. So that's in Gita, right? Annat bhavanti bhutani parjanyat anasambhavaha. Yajñat bhavati parjanya. Yajña karma samudbhavaha. So the yagnas are prescribed in the Gita. What to speak of Vedas and Vedangas. And it's the duty of the king to perform yagnas. Why? For the prosperity of everyone. Now, there's a different concept. There should not be yagnas, there should not be worship of deities in temples. Somebody recently wrote to me. I don't want to mention his name. He's living in Kuwait, Hindu from India. Singh. His name is Singh. He said, I understand why Prabhupada made murtis, temples and murtis in the West. But in India, why don't you serve the walking God, the man? Madhava Seva is Madhava Seva. Manava Seva. Basically, he didn't use Manava Seva as Madhava Seva, but that's what his intention was. Walking gods. So I wrote back to him. I said that we are not God. We are part and parcel of God. And therefore, the system of worshipping God in the temple in Agama Shastras is ancient. And service to man is service to God is not a Vedic concept. It's not in Vedic literature. It's not in the Gita. We are not that Murgi mission that is eating chickens and goats and fish and saying that Manava Seva is Madhava Seva and service to man is service to God. We are following the Vedic system. He got angry, not to me directly, but to someone else. ISKCON is not going to give up this worship of deities. What can be done? This misconception is there in society. And people are respecting, oh, they're serving the poor God. Daridra Narayan. Daridra Narayan. But Narayan is Lakshmipati. How can he be Daridra? So it's an oxymoron. Viparita Vakyam. Contradiction in terms. Because if you say that the poor man is God, then what is God? You say Sarva Shaktiman. This is what I wrote to him. God is Sarva Vyapi, Sarva Shaktiman, Sarvagya, right? He's all-knowing, all-powerful. What's the other one? Sarva Shaktiman, Sarva Vyapi, Sarvagya, and one more. Not Sarva Mangalmaya. Anyway, I can't remember now. Omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent. And Lakshmipati, anyway, these people, their brains are dull, must be due to Rajogun and Tamogun. They can't understand. If God is all-powerful, all-knowing, should he become a poor man and suffer? Doesn't make sense. Same time it says here, Raja is supposed to make sure that everyone has a happy life. Happy life doesn't mean a skyscraper with a penthouse on the 25th floor. That's not what happiness is. What is happiness? Yudhishthira describes, right, in Mahabharata, who is happy? Ko modate. Yaksha Prashna. You've heard of Yaksha Prashna. So one of the 4 key questions in Yaksha Prashna. Ko modate, who is happy? So the answer, this is a Yamaraj disguised as a bird, and then a Yaksha talking to Yudhishthir, his son. So he said, Shaka pachati swe grihe. I can't remember the first line. Anybody know? No. Shaka pachati swe grihe. Apravasi aranicha apravasicha. One who does not travel. I just came from a big tour. The whole year I've been traveling. But he says aranicha apravasicha. One who does not have a debt, credit card debt. Apravasi, one who does not travel. Sa, what is that? Sa varichara modate. Varichara means one who stays in the water. In the Yaksha Prashna, the story, you know the story? Who knows the Yaksha Prashna story? Show me your hand. It's not so many. Pandavas are wandering in the forest. Yudhishthir, Kunti Devi says, I'm thirsty, I want some water. Yudhishthir sends Nakula or Sahadev, I can't remember, on the top of a tree to look for water. He sees a lake. Yudhishthir sends one by one brother to the lake and nobody comes back. Long story short, Yudhishthir goes to the lake. He sees the 4 brothers are dead. That's how these powerful Kshatriyas, young, not old men, how they died. Yudhishthir thinks, first I'll drink some water and then search for whoever killed my brothers. Because there were no injuries, they just fell dead. Don't drink that water. The Akashvani, right? What is that? Unembodied voice. Don't drink the water. Who are you? Who's selling this? Show me. I'm a bird. Baka. No, a baka cannot talk like this. I'm a yaksha. So therefore Yaksha Prashna. So he asked, if you want to drink this water, you have to answer my questions, otherwise you will also die like your brothers. So one by one question, many questions, but 4 famous questions. Ko modate, ka varta, kim ascharyam. I'm forgetting one. Ko modate, who's happy? Kim ascharyam, what is the most wonderful thing? Ka varta, what is the news? What else? You remember the 4th one, anybody? Nobody. Okay. Yudhishthir answers the questions, the brothers come back to life. And the Yaksha, before the brothers come back to life, reveals that he's Yamaraj, asking the questions. So, the Ko modate, who's happy? One who eats vegetables in his own house in the 3rd or 4th part of the day. This is the translation. Tri Chatvari Ahani Shake Pachati Swe Grihe. Who has vegetables cooked in his own house. Home cooking. Hotels. Everybody wants to go to a hotel to eat, right? We're also running hotels. I'm a hoteler, you can say. We have a Govinda's restaurant. And our Govinda's restaurant is not doing as good as it should, because in the immediate area there's 25 hotels. Big. Everybody wants to eat something different. Vegetarian at least, mostly. That much I can say. One who eats in his own house, there's nothing like home cooking. Who says? Yudhishthir says. Arini chapravasi cha, one who does not have a debt and who doesn't travel, he's happy. How did I get there? How did I come to that?
Who is happy?
Pardon? Somebody must remember the link.
Kshatriya and Vaishyas were also well versed in
Raja Dharman, I think I was going on about Raja. Because Prabhupada, Raja Dharma is a great science. The kings were munificent. So we talked about how they were munificent. And that yagna, by performing yagna, they benefited the population. That was the Vedic concept. And the Vedic concept is also to live a simple life. Wealth, that's where the point came. Who is happy? If you have a big bungalow, or if you have 25 bungalows, or 50, right? Mukesh Ambani's bungalow cost how many crores? 20 crores, 50 crores, 100 crores, whatever it is. For 4 people, 26-story building. For 4 people. Now the daughter is married, so it's, but the son got married, so it's still 4. Soon there'll be 5 or 6. That's not happiness. A wrong concept of happiness is being taught. Right? Happiness was described by Yudhishthira. If you want to be happy, home cooking. If you want to be happy, don't borrow money. Because then your whole life you're repaying. And how many Hindus became slaves? You think that generally slaves are Africans. Right? Mataji is African. One African here we have. But you know how many Hindus were slaves? In the West Indies, Mauritius, Fiji, they called it bonded labor, but it was slavery. They took a loan, they couldn't pay it back. They signed their life away. And they went and harvested sugar cane for the British. Yeah, it's true. There in Mauritius, there's a national monument to the slaves who came from India. Ghulam. Ram Ghulam was the president. Slave of Ram. Das, Ram Das. Das also means slave. Huh? Das, Dasaha. Ghulam is Urdu, right? Ghulam is not Sanskrit. Paricharya, serving others in Gita. Paricharyatmakam karma, Shudras chapi svabhavajam. So who's happy? Simple life. That makes someone happy. You know what's the funny thing in Western life? Psychiatrists, you have to go. Everybody goes, right? And then the psychiatrist has to go to a psychiatrist. The analyst, right? The doctor's doctor. Who is happy? To lead the prajas to the attainment of salvation was a great duty of the king. Moksha Dharma. Raja Dharma and Moksha Dharma are linked. Kings had to teach the public. They also renounced. Pandavas went away at the end. Vanaprastha ashram. Kshatriyas did not become sannyasis. Vanaprasthas. Even Gandhari followed Dhritarashtra into the forest and burned in the forest fire. That's what Bhagavat and Mahabharata both say. So that means they gave up the kingdom. Even that type of material attachment, even if it was according to dharma, but it was only temporary. The father, the spiritual master, and the king are not to become irresponsible in the matter of leading their subjects excuse me, to the path of ultimate liberation from birth, death, diseases, and old age. When these primary duties are properly discharged, there is no need of government of the people by the people. Prabhupada condemns democracy. Maharaj condemned last night. He's following Prabhupada. But we cannot stop democracy. It's a catch-22. That's the English. It's become colloquial English, coined expression. Catch-22. What does it mean? It means that you're in a bind. You're in a situation that is not ideal and you cannot get out. If two people are pushing from each side one man and both of them are big, huge guys, where do you go? That is the position of human society. We're stuck. It's Hiranyakashipu Raj. That's what's happening now. The governments are rascals. They're allowing the slaughter of animals. Even if those animals are goats or chickens, they should not be slaughtered in this way with, thousands and thousands. The lower class people used to kill the chickens and the pigs and the goats and eat them. But not that there was mechanized slaughterhouse like today. We cannot stop it. Cows are being killed, we cannot stop it. It's very pitiful situation. And there are many others besides ISKCON. There are many people who realize this, and they're trying to save cows, right? Here in India, right? They're called Go Sevaks, and they stop trucks smuggling cows, and sometimes they find the truck is full of the meat of the cows. This is going on. There's no Raja. Kali Yuga, and Kali Yuga will get worse. That's the prediction of Bhagavatam. Kali Yuga, and it's getting worse. It's 9 o'clock. Time is up. And the purport is still, not halfway. Not halfway. We could not talk about street dharma. We could not talk about Bhagavat dharma, the dharma of bhaktas. But you had a seminar, right? What was it? A few days ago, Maharaj gave a seminar. Huh? Krishna's pastime. Bhagavat dharma. Any questions? Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in Dhaka, which is now so-called Bangladesh, politically divided, same place. He lectured on first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam for how long? Who knows? 90 days. You have done good study? Really? I'm not making fun. It's good. Learn it. 90 days on one shloka. This shloka can also go for 90 days. I think this shloka, we have to do research to speak on this verse. What are those dharmas that Vyasa, extensively, what did he describe? Bhishma. We should get that and read that, isn't it? I didn't prepare properly. I didn't bring Shanti Parva, and if I brought it, I couldn't finish in 1 hour. Whatever little I know, I could say something. Something. We should study that. We should all study that Shanti Parva. To know in detail. Ashesha, okay, this was Ashesha. Vyasa Yogataha, in detail. No questions? There's a mic. Somebody has a mic. There's a hand somewhere. Please pass the mic. Somebody should take the mic. Why don't you do that? आप जवान हैं. आप 18 वर्ष के हैं. शक्ति, युवा शक्ति है आपके पास. Yes. हाँ प्रभु बोलिए. I'm saying English, please. No battery in that mic? Okay, it's on now. Confirmed. The cow's confirmed.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज, मेरा प्रश्न है, आपने बोला जे कौन सुखी है जो भ्रमण नहीं करता है, लेकिन शास्त्र में है जे गौर आमार जे सब स्थाने करिल भ्रमण रंगे से सब स्थाने हेरिब आमी प्रणय भगवत रंगे. तो ये मैं समझता नहीं, ज़्यादा समझ दीजिए.
संक्षिप्त. What?
You are telling that the one is happy.
Yeah.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज,
That is not wrong.
हरे कृष्ण महाराज, मेरा प्रश्न है, आपने बोला जो कौन सुखी कौन है जो भ्रमण नहीं करता है, लेकिन शास्त्र में है जो गौर आमार जे सब स्थाने करिल भ्रमण रंगे से सब स्थाने हेरिब आमी प्रणय भगवत संगे. तो ये मैं समझता नहीं, ज़रा समझ दीजिए, जे भ्रमण नहीं करते वो कैसे सुखी है, ये ज़रा मुझको समझ दीजिए.
Those who visit the places of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastimes become happy, right? That's what you're saying.
He wants to say that you said who's not traveling is happy, but Shastra says I will travel to the places where Mahaprabhu is. So now it is contradictory for you.
Tirth Yatra was done in Vanaprastha ashram, not in Grihastha ashram. That's the system of Varnashram. Brahmachari was traveling to the Guru's house. Like Krishna and Balaram came from Mathura to this place. So traveling was there. And then Grihasthas, mostly except Kshatriyas and Vaishyas. Brahmins did not travel, Shudras did not travel. Kshatriyas, they had to travel. Raja Dharman. And Vaishyas, Vanijyam, for trading. Traders, they had to travel to bring something from one place and trade in another place. But servants, well, of course, traders had their servants, and even Kshatriyas had their servants. But generally, there was a village life where nobody went out, unless to nearby villages by walk. That was like that. But then in Vanaprastha ashram, Baladev also went on Tirth Yatra. So Tirth Yatra was there, and there were no hotels. There might have been this Dharmashalas. And there was food. Prabhupada said Grihasthas used to call, anyone hungry, come. They used to feed these Vanaprasthas. And Vanaprasthas only would stay 3 days in one place. They wouldn't stay for a long time. Maybe Chaturmasya they didn't travel during rainy period. Otherwise they would walk to these different places. So Gauranga Leela and Rath Yatra they walked. That's also in Chaitanya Leela. From Navadvip they came to Puri by walk in the rainy season. Ashad Mas is rain. And I have been Puri Rath Yatra twice, 1982 and 1984. After that I didn't go to Puri Rath Yatra. Because we have our Baroda Rath Yatra. I missed that also. This year I missed. No, last year, not this year. This year I was there. Last year I missed. Hare Krishna. Any other question? No. Yeah.
Thank you so much for wonderful class.
You have to speak into the mic loudly.
Thank you so much for wonderful class. I have a very small question. Like how we can bring that village culture in the now busy schedule,
Some householders, Prabhupada, he encouraged this, to give up your urban life and go and live in a village.
But when we are
He started the new Vrindavan, and there was a movie made about that. by Yadupara Prabhu back in 1975, 76. And this is a Prabhupada memory that I didn't talk about last night. But I got that movie in a briefcase projector in 1976, August. And we met Prabhupada in Bombay. He had come from Tehran. And 3 very rich people came to have lunch with Prabhupada. And I said, Srila Prabhupada, would you like me to show this movie I brought? And he said, yes. And I showed this is in Juhu. And, it was about New Vrindavan. Simple living, depend on the cows and Krishna. The spiritual frontier. You can probably see that movie on YouTube. You can probably see it on YouTube. So Prabhupada propagated. We don't have that. There's 2 words, Dridha Nishchayaha. You've heard this? Firm determination. I'm also not determined. I have to hold my ears because I'm an urbanite. Baroda is a city. We're running ISKCON. We are preaching idealism. There is a certain ideal. We may not be living like that at the moment. But some people are getting inspired to do that. Some people. Of course, in Gujarat, there's this Nandagram. You heard about that. But Prabhupada, I was there in Hyderabad, 565 acres were donated. Later on, 500 was taken away. But Prabhupada went and spent a week on that farm in December 1976 to stress the importance of living on a farm. And the president of ISKCON Delhi at the time was an American disciple who had been in Andhra Pradesh in the Peace Corps. You heard of the Peace Corps? Before the 1971 war, Indira Gandhi kicked the Peace Corps out of India because Nixon and his foreign minister Kissinger were pro-Pakistan. So she stopped this. But Kennedy, you heard of John F. Kennedy, he started this. We call it Peace Corps, but the English it's written Peace Corps. It looks like that P is silent actually. Anyway, so Tejas was the president of Delhi Temple. He learned Telugu in the Peace Corps and he spoke Hindi in Delhi. He's still alive. He had open heart bypass surgery. He's 73, 74 years old, but he's still there. He was agriculture graduate. So Prabhupada brought him from Delhi and put him on the farm. Delhi is an important place. So he took him, and because he had that agriculture, he spoke Telugu, he spoke Hindi, developed this farm. And 2 other disciples, they're all both still alive. They couldn't work together. The project never really... in Ahmedabad, 100 acres were donated. And Prabhupada wrote a letter to Jasomati Nandan Prabhu. I've seen that letter. This should be a community of devotees, not a commercial activity. Now it's given to one devotee who's a chartered accountant, actually, and he's developing that. Kalanath Chaitanya Das. So, Prabhupada wanted this. How to do it? Use your intelligence. One devotee in Kerala fixed his daughter's marriage to another ISKCON devotee who came from USA. And, he went and saw the boy's house in Telangana. But still, he told me, I still have a doubt. So I said, look, I'm giving you the contacts in USA, 3 devotees. So then he said, after I said those, I said, did you contact them? No, he said, I think I'm leaving it to Krishna. So I said, Prabhu, due diligence is better. And you have Krishna given intelligence. You understand the point? Krishna has given us Dadami Buddhi Yogam Dham, right? We'll get the intelligence from Krishna. Not that let anything happen. Just like Ashwatthama Hataha, right? Ashwatthama is killed. How did it happen? Because they discussed, we are losing this war, how can we win? Then Krishna told Pandavas, you have to kill Dronacharya. And the only way to kill him is to tell him his son died. Otherwise, he won't stop fighting. And he's indefeatable. Undefeatable. So then they devised this plan. Kill an elephant named Ashwatthama. In Bengal, you say Ashwatthama iti gaja. And in Gujarat, we say Ashwatthama hataha narova kunjarova. Maybe man, maybe elephant. How did they do that? They used their brains, and Krishna was there directly. We have to use our intelligence. That's the point. So if you feel that you should live in an agrarian lifestyle, it's possible. It's not impossible. You have to use your intelligence how to do it. Prabhupada said this also, how to preach. There are so many. There was something at the end last night. Prabhupada went to the West. Some of his godbrothers also went to the West, right? You know that. How many people know that? Bhakti Siddhanta sent 2 sannyasis, Bhakti Hriday Van and Bhakti Saranga Goswami, to London in the 1930s. And why weren't they successful, and why was Prabhupada successful? You know why? Prabhupada went out and preached boldly. That's why. Ban Maharaj wrote, oh, the people here, they don't want to hear the preaching, they just want to eat meat. So Bhakti Siddhanta wrote back, serve meat but preach. He wrote like that. It's a famous. He wasn't preaching, he was just sitting around and doing nothing. Right? Udyamenaiva siddhyanti karyani namanorataihi nahi suktasya simhasya praveshanti mukhe brigaha. The animals don't enter the mouth of the sleeping lion. Lion has to go out and kill the animals. It's not that lion will sleep and the animals will jump into his mouth. Prabhupada went out and he had many engagements preaching. He went out in the street and then he inspired those dancing white elephants to go and preach. But he also wanted this, start the farm communities. I'm not doing it, but it's one of the teachings, ideal. It's one of the ideals. Time is, should we keep on going or should we end now? I think you need to make an announcement about the next program.
Initiation ceremony.
Right. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Hare Krishna.